And good morning, everyone. My name is Oliver Francis, here with the exponent, here with East Grand Forks Senior High speech and debate coach Tanner Miller, here to talk about the wonderful year his program's had and two students of his who've earned the wonderful right to go to nationals in Dallas, Texas in a couple weeks. So why don't you tell us, just give people a brief recap of what speech and debate is and what type of year you guys had, then we'll talk more about nationals after that.
Okay. We participate in two different factions of speech and debate. The first being high school speech, which is sanctioned by MSHSL. And that's just your traditional extracurricular, you have 13 different categories in which you can speak, whether it be humorous, dramatic, or informative, or anywhere really in between. And, then our subsect that we have is NSDA, which is National Speech and Debate Association. What that is where we have two students that are going to a national tournament in Dallas here in a couple of weeks now. One of them, Caitlin Van Beek, is going in informative speaking, where she takes a topic and she just kind of lays it out for us in a way that we wouldn't otherwise have thought about things such as this. One of such topics that we've talked about in the past would be like lemonade stands, chili peppers, or even fences. And then Nathaniel Thompson is going in extemporaneous speaking, which is very much so just current event speaking. He keeps up with what's going on in the political scene, he keeps up with exactly what is going on in the world around him, and is able to answer a question given 30 minutes worth of prep time based off of these things and give a 7-minute presentation on them.
That's awesome. For those students who've made it, give people an idea of how tough it is to make it to nationals.
Well, to give a bit of background, for the national scene in the United States, Minnesota is in one of the top 3 toughest competitors when it comes down to speech and debate in the country. And on top of it, we have a very hard section as well for us to try and get anyone there. To put it into a little bit more of light, the last group that I saw make it to the national tournament was when I was still in high school about 9 years ago. One of my co-coaches and his duo partner made it to the national tournament, not the championship, but the national tournament. And so really when it comes down to it, we compete against incredibly talented schools. We see Moorhead at this tournament kind of come out and shine, being one of our biggest competitions, with them luckily in MSHSL being in a different classing level than us, them being AA and us being single A. And so, trying to make it into these national tournaments is one of those things that is a huge, huge deal.
Awesome, and very good to know. Talking more about nationals now. Where's this year's tournament going to be at, and what is the expected cost of each of these two students? And I know maybe you want to talk about some fundraising things they're trying to do, so people watching this, if they're you're a citizen of East Grand Forks a resident of East Grand Forks or of the local community, maybe find out how they can help fundraise their journey and explain why they need to fundraise for this.
So we have a huge expense, as would be expected. We're going to Dallas, Texas for this national competition. Flights weren't cheap, and so we actually found it was cheaper for us to drive down this year, giving us actually a huge bill just for gas and mileage of about $560 estimated. And that's before hotels, that's before us signing up for the tournament and registering. We have a grand total expense right now of $4,500. And we've been doing some fundraising efforts. We've been reaching out to local, groups to see if anyone would be able to help us out. And we've been getting responses here and there, but we've had really probably a grand total of maybe 6 responses. And so any help that we can get, from the community would obviously be a huge, huge help. If you would like to donate any money, you can make the checks out to speech activity account, leave in the reasoning, nationals, and if you send them into the high school, they know what to do with it from there. I don't have the high school's address on hand right now.
That's okay.
Yeah.
No, that's very good to know. Can you talk about your involvement with this program? How long have you been associated with it? Is it a volunteer basis, or more about your background a little bit?
Okay, well, I've been working with the speech team here now for, I think this was my 3rd year total. Obviously, I did it all 4 years when I was in high school, but that was, again, 9 years ago. And so when I when I started being a part of this program, again, I started working out at the middle school, working with just middle school students, and I did that for the past 2 years. And it wasn't until just this last year when the old head coach, Joe Kelka, stepped down because he was moving forward with his life, graduating college, and going out, getting married, and moving away to Fargo. That I was able to step up to the mantle of being the head coach and kind of taking over the program. And so it's been quite the first year as head coach. With us having success with students making it to this national tournament, as well as huge successes at state as well.
Awesome, awesome to hear. For your 2 students going to nationals, what's do you have like a favorite memory of any of the speeches that they've given this year? What favorite topic that favorite speech moment that kind of stood out, kind of open ended here?
Well, we'll give one for each student really. We have Miss Caitlin Van Beek. She actually the highlight for her year thus far is probably a toss-up between making it to this national tournament, and she actually came out as the state champion in informative speaking as well. And being able to see that whole journey all the way through this entire season was a really, really, really impressive deal. And then as far as Nate, just seeing him work and like really, really put in those long hours, after school, typically after basketball practice as well, just being able to see him progress and learn all of these things and keep himself well informed, and then on top of all of it, make it to the national tournament as well as compete at state. It's a really big year for both of these two. So
awesome, that's wonderful to hear. And what's something that people may, just to kind of wrap things up here, what's something that people may not know about speech and debate, or what's maybe a misconception about speech and debate that you think people have, and then we'll wrap things up after that.
One of the big things that I hear often when I'm talking about the fact that I coach speech, or that I have students that are really good at speech, is how can they talk in front of such big crowds when in reality, these students, as much as they, Nate and Caitlin specifically, have really learned to speak in front of larger audiences because of their rampant success. Starting out in things like this is mostly for any high school students that may be interested in this just in general. Starting out in this is nothing really too intimidating. Most of the time you're speaking in front of maybe 5 or 6 other people and then a judge on top of it. And so you're speaking in front of, smaller than a classroom size, until you start getting wildly successful, which by that point the stage fright should hopefully, start to dissipate a little bit. But yeah, those are really the big things about all of it,
That's absolutely wonderful to know. And to kind of wrap things up here, you just want to talk about when nationals are for people and kind of restate, I know you stated it earlier, just to restate what fundraising options are available for people, and if people wanted to find a way to maybe contact you if they're interested in donating after seeing this, what would be maybe a way to do that, whatever way you're comfortable, of course.
Well, I think the easiest way to go about it would be saying that, if you want to get in contact with me about any fundraising that you would like to contribute, the best way would be either to send a letter to the high school, which I can respond to as promptly as possible. If you leave an email or a phone number, I would leave my emails, but they're both just about the most complicated ones to try and explain to anyone ever. And then again, any direct contribution that you can do can just be mailed into the high school with a note saying that it's for the speech activity account, specifically for nationals. And yeah, I guess we will be leaving on the 16th, and the competition will last for about a week, so it should be back, hopefully on the 23rd.
My goodness, that's pretty intense.
Yep.
Is there any way that people, maybe from East Grand Forks, if they want to follow along with the competition, is there any way they can do that from here if they're not traveling?
I believe that a lot of rounds, maybe even it's just the final rounds, end up getting streamed by NSDA. So if you go to the National Speech and Debate Association or speechanddebate.com, they will be able to get you to some type of a streaming service to be able to show a lot of these final rounds and things like that. They have, in the past, they record a lot of these final rounds because of how, impressive a lot of these students are from around the country, just for posterity, just to hold on to them for as long as possible. And so, yeah, if you want to be able to follow along, we also have a Twitter account. I think it's East Grand Forks Speech on Twitter. We will be keeping updates on there as well, as far as we go, and even further into the future with just MSHSL state level speech. We will continue to be posting there.
Awesome, and that's wonderful to hear. We look forward to the progress and success of your fantastic students and your wonderful program. You guys have already had an absolutely wonderful year in your first full year of this to begin with. Thank you very much for taking the time to come down here and talk with us today. I'm Oliver Francis here with Coach Miller of East Grand Forks Speech and Debate. Thank you very much for listening and have a wonderful day.